Hi everyone, and welcome to this lesson. This lesson is going to be scanning with Metasploit and is our final lesson in the scanning section. So we're going to cover today just basic scanning. We're going to cover the auxiliary section of Metasploit, at least touch on it here. We're going to cover it more later as well. What we want to do is we're going to go into our Kali box and we're going to go ahead and just get right into it and load up MSF console. So like we did with Nmap and like we did with Nessus, we're going to do a scan of all ports using Metasploit. And I'm going to kind of just show you around the auxiliary section as well, so that way you can kind of get a feel. So now we're in Metasploit, and if you didn't see what I typed in, it's just MSF console. So once you type that in, it takes a minute to load. And from here, you can do a lot of things. We're going to get more familiar with it as we go along and learn how to use exploits and do some more scanning with it. What I like to do is if I'm looking to do some sort of specific scan, I might search for that scan. So I know I'm looking to do a port scan. So in our first few searches might take a while because the cache needs to get built. So that's unfortunate, but just is what it is. So once this loads, it should show us some options that are in the database for scanning. Okay, and so with port scans here, if we look at it, we're in the auxiliary module and we're under scanner here. And there's a few options for port scan that I can see here. So we're probably going to look for a SYN scan. We could also use TCP scan, but this is our stealth scan that we covered in the last couple lessons. And yeah, so what we want to do, if we want to use something like this, we can say use and just start typing it out. You can tab it through, you can copy paste if you want to, and then we'll just say SYN. So that would be the syntax. So we're going to select to use that module. And when you're in a module, the first thing you should always do is just type in show options. So it kind of shows you here what you need to do, what you need to set at least to have requirements. So if you look through it, some of these are already set for you under the required of yes. Interface isn't set to anything, but it's not required. Our ports are set to 1 through 10,000. So if we wanted to change that, we can say set ports 1 through, if we wanted to scan all ports, we could say 65535. And if you go back to show options, you can see now that it's been changed. So the real important one here, I guess there's a couple. We want to look at our hosts. So our host is the machine that we're trying to scan or the range that we're trying to scan. And you can see here that it says the target address range or the CIDR identifier. So we're not going to do a range, but we are going to just do a host. I'm going to use the same host I've been using. And for threads, I like to set threads at 10. It just makes everything run a little bit faster. And let's show options again. And now everything looks right. So what you could type in here is you could type in run, or I like to type in exploit just because it's fun. And it'll start. So there's not a lot of verbosity here. It's not going to give you updates really. It's just going to kind of run in the background. So with that being said, I kind of want to show you one that I started about 4 hours ago. It's this guy here. So same exact syntax and everything, but it's been running for 4 hours and it's only found 5357 open so far. So not very fast, doesn't give us a lot of information, and we could do better, right? So if you're going to do scanning, port scanning with Metasploit, probably not the way to go. I would just stick to Nmap. And we know that Metasploit is only allowed on the exam one time, so we're going to save it. We're not going to use this. I'm going to go ahead and Control-C out of this. I just want to show you a couple more options here. So the nice thing about auxiliary is we could look through it and there's so many options. So if we wanted to search, say we're looking for some information on Samba shares, but we're not exactly sure what we're looking for, we can kind of search SMB and see everything that comes up. You're going to see some exploits that show up. You're going to see some post exploitation that shows up, but we can kind of sift through that, and I'll show you that here in a second when it loads. Okay, so now that it's loaded, you can kind of see here all the different modules on the left side, and there's a description here. You have a release date and how good I guess the rating would be. So we have good rating, great rating, excellent rating. If we scroll up just a little bit here, you get into the auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are first just because it's in alphabetical order. So you can kind of look at this. There's a denial of service in here. There's admin. There's fuzzing. There's scanners. So there's a lot of information that can be found. And auxiliary is really just finding information. Exploits are actually exploiting the machine. So if we look through some of this, there's some interesting stuff in here. Like we could search a machine for a Samba version if there was Samba enabled on the machine. We could look at a machine and see if it's running MS1710, Eternal Blue. So we can kind of use this to enumerate. We can enumerate shares, enumerate users. We can search if SMB1 or 2 is up. And there are auxiliary scans like this for lots of things, not just Samba. There are a ton of different scans. If we were to go in and just say use auxiliary scanner, and I hit tab a couple times, there's 515 possibilities just for auxiliary scanners. And you can see if we were to just go through them, there's a million different things here. So this will be your friend. You're going to kind of have to just learn it. The best way that I learned it was to just kind of stumble upon it. So if you find something like, say, this Konica FTP, you could use it, but you're going to probably find it by searching Konica and seeing that, hey, there's an auxiliary scanner for this to see if the FTP traversal is even a possibility of an exploit before you go run the exploit. So that's nice to have before you just go start firing off exploits. But this is something that you're just going to encounter along the way. You might see them pop up in Google searches as an option, and there's a million different things you can do. But I do recommend that you get familiar with Metasploit. And we're not going to have a module over it because it's not really going to be exam heavy. But you're going to see it a lot in the course because I do think it adds value. You're going to use it more than not in the real world. So this is something that you definitely need to familiarize yourself with. So this is just a really basic overview. I just wanted to show you the auxiliary scanning as another option. But we're not going to do it through the course. So just use Nmap, stick with that, and you'll be good to go. And that's it for this lesson. So I thank you for joining me. My name is Heath Adams, and I will see you next time.